This video was brought to you by Brilliant, and the first 200 people to sign up using the link below will get 20% off an annual premium subscription. As you might know, the United States has the world's largest military budget by some distance. It boasts the most aircraft carriers, has the second largest nuclear arsenal, and maintains the third largest active military in the world. With all of these things taken into account, it's no surprise that the US military maintains a presence all over the world. In fact, they currently have around 750 known military bases in at least 80 different countries, obviously excluding any secret bases the US might have. And you've probably even heard of certain US bases abroad, like the Ramstein Air Base in Germany or the controversial Guantanamo Bay Naval Base in Cuba. But you can also find the US military in some unexpected places too. So in this video, we're going to be taking a look at some of America's lesser known overseas bases. And who knows, you might even find out that you live closer to a US military base than you originally thought. Given all that's going on in Ukraine at the moment, let's start with the US's lesser-known European bases. Bezma Air Base is in Bulgaria and has maintained a permanent US military presence since the US and Bulgaria signed the US-Bulgarian Defense Cooperation Agreement in 2006. And, as you might expect, Russia isn't all that keen on this, and at the end of 2021, Putin called on NATO to withdraw its military presence from Bulgaria. The Bulgarian Prime Minister, for his part, responded by insisting that, as a sovereign nation, Bulgaria could choose its own defense arrangements. The US is currently able to keep a maximum of 2,500 troops in that base, and a total of 8,500 across Eastern Europe, spread across US bases in Poland, Hungary, and Romania, as well as the Baltic states. Not too far from Bulgaria is Camp Bondsteel in Kosovo. Opened in 1999, the US Army operates the ongoing Kosovo Force, or KFOR, from Camp Bondsteel. KFOR is a US-based NATO operation tasked with maintaining peace since the end of the Kosovo War. Notably, during the War on Terror in the 2000s, the US was accused of operating a secret detention center out of Camp Bondsteel, and the Council of Europe's Human Rights Commissioner reportedly witnessed Muslim detainees being held captive in terrible conditions in a facility similar to Guantanamo Bay. The US denied this and claimed that no one was being held in Bondsteel's detention facility. More recently though, during the chaotic 2021 US withdrawal from Afghanistan, the US military sent Afghan refugees to Camp Bondsteel if they didn't immediately pass the vetting process. As of November 2021, there were still around 200 refugees remaining there, with them being given 1 year to pass the vetting process or risk being returned to Afghanistan. Anyway, let's move on from Europe to Asia, where we've got the Armed Forces Research Institute of Medical Sciences, which is in Bangkok, Thailand. First formed in 1958, the institute started under the now-defunct Southeast Asia Treaty Organization in order to combat the cholera outbreak in the area. Since then, the joint US-Thai operation has been tasked with the research and eradication of other infectious diseases, focusing on orphan diseases, which are diseases typically overlooked by pharmaceutical companies and those that typically tend to impact military personnel. Most notably, the institute has worked on the development of anti-malarial drugs, an HIV vaccine, and has helped to track outbreaks of diseases like Zika and COVID-19. In the Pacific, we've got the Joint Defense Facility Pine Gap, deep in the red center of the Australian outback. This secretive US-Australian base is a relic of the Cold War and was originally set up for satellite surveillance and to monitor missile launches in the Southern Hemisphere. Pine Gap has occasionally proved controversial though. In 1985, the Sydney Morning Herald reported that a leaked cable suggested that the US had 2 secret rooms within Pine Gap where Australian officials weren't allowed access. The Pine Gap facility has also been accused of spying on Australians and was linked with drone strikes performed in Afghanistan and Pakistan against Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. When it comes to Africa, the US actually operates a large network of bases throughout the continent, mostly for counter-terrorism operations, with their headquarters in Niger Air Base 201. Niger 201 houses drones and other aircraft used to strike terrorists connected to Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and Boko Haram, and is part part of the US's AFRICOM command. It's worth noting that AFRICOM has been scaled back in recent years. In 2019, the Trump administration reduced the US's African presence by 25%. This might be surprising, but the US even had an air base in Greenland. The Thule Air Base was established in World War II for the defense of the then Danish colony against the Germans. Denmark was actually occupied by the Germans at the time, but the Danish ambassador to the US had signed an agreement relating to the defense of Greenland on the behalf of the Danish government. The airbase then continued to be of strategic importance for the US during the Cold War due to its proximity to the Soviet Union, and even played a big role in the failed Project Iceworm, which was meant to hide 600 nukes in tunnels underneath Greenland's enormous ice sheet. These hidden ICBMs would be next to impossible for the Soviet Union to locate or target. Unfortunately for the Americans, though, this plan failed due to gradual movements in the ice sheet, which left the tunnels at risk of collapse. Today, the airbase is operated by the newly created US Space Force and is used to deflect missile launches and space-based weapons systems. Even further south, you'll find the US's only military command in South America, the Naval Medical Research Unit 6, which is located in Lima, Peru. Formed in 1983, Unit 6 operates a Biosafety Level 3 lab and 2 Biosafety Level 2 labs, similar to the ones found in Thailand. Unit 6 is tasked with studying infectious diseases that are not commonly seen in the United States, but could threaten US troops on deployment. So far then, we've found US military bases on 6 out of the 7 continents. But what about Antarctica? Well, the US does have research stations on Antarctica, but these are run by civilian agencies. And thanks to Article 1 of the Antarctic Treaty, no country, not even the United States, may conduct military operations in Antarctica. This may change in the future, though. The Antarctic Treaty comes up for renegotiation in 2048, and there has been some controversy with the treaty more recently. In 2017, Australian observers of the Antarctic Treaty accused China of violating Article 1 by performing undeclared military activities in the Arctic. It's possible then that the US military could use these accusations as justification for an Antarctic military presence in the near future, but the continent has avoided the US, at least thus far. This video was brought to you by Brilliant. Brilliant is an online STEM learning platform that turns complex subjects into fun and interactive experiences. I actually did a computer science degree, and I've loved exploring Brilliant to refresh my skills, as well as learning new ones to help with my current job, like their superb statistics courses. But you don't need any kind of background in STEM. If you just want to spend a bit of time building your skills, then you can do it right away, with no long boring lectures like the ones I had to sit through. Sorry to my former university. Instead, you can learn through interactive games and puzzles, the kind of thing you actually want to do. There's something at all levels too, with more advanced courses on things like neural networks and even quantum computing. Just pick a course that you're interested in and get started. They're all designed by award-winning instructors and built upon the principle of active learning, so you're gaining STEM knowledge by actually doing it. Brilliant helps you learn new things and sharpen your skills. So if you want to improve with STEM, then you should sign up to Brilliant at brilliant.org/TLDRUS. And the first 200 people to do so will get 20% off an annual premium subscription. Thanks so much for supporting the channel.